talked to a guy who said, the doctor said I have 5 years left in my life. He makes good money. He can afford our program. Went to the end of the call, told him the price. He said, I got to check with my wife. Came back. She said no. She said, we don't have the disposable income for that. We need to spend it on vacations. So I said, who is leading this family? And then he's told me, we do it 50-50. I said, it doesn't sound like it. And the guys who say we lead our families 50-50, what that really means is they're too weak to do what they know is right, and their wife is stuck leading everything. And you're willing to die in 5 years to avoid a little bit of conflict. That's what it means. And then your 3 children are going to grow up without a father because you're too scared right now to have an uncomfortable conversation with your wife. That's what that means. So we just had our men's retreat. And this is going to be a podcast. This is going to be an Instagram Live. I haven't done a live for a couple weeks now. We went away to Spooner, Wisconsin, this amazing location, and 20 guys flew out. We had guys from Australia. We had one guy from Australia he flew all the way over here. Awesome guy. He's been on our program for over a year, Joe. I did a podcast with him. We had multiple guys from Canada, all over Canada, and then we had people from all over the U.S. all fly to Wisconsin, and we had one of the most important weekends of my life. It was unbelievable. We had breakthrough after breakthrough after breakthrough. It's my first hosting a men's retreat, my first time in that in-person leadership position with all these high-level successful guys. Last year at this time, I was teaching middle school band. This year, I'm leading a men's movement. So a lot can happen in 1 year. What I want to do with this podcast is talk to you guys about things I learned. So at the beginning of the retreat, everyone showed up, and we gathered around the campfire. And I wanted to give us all a message for what the weekend was going to be about. I wanted to say, okay, this weekend, this retreat is for us to connect. It's for us to get fit, for us to eat healthy, but it's for us to really focus on being the best men, husbands, and fathers we can be. So everyone showed up. As soon as they showed up, I had flank steak ready for them. There's this huge grill outside, so I made sure we had some beautiful rare to medium rare flank steak ready for the guys. They all came up. We ate, we hang out, we talked, gathered in the living room. They put all their stuff away. Then as the evening came along, there's this beautiful fireplace outside. So we all came outside, gathered around, introduced ourselves, and it was like we knew each other for years. And I said, okay, over the next 3 days, or 4 days, I want us to think about these 3 things. And I want us to be constantly journaling about them. I gave the guys these journals right here. If you're watching video, you can see these Rising Father journals. So they showed up to these Rising Father journals on their bed. They had a tank top. Darren gave them jump ropes. They had stickers and all kind of things for them. So they had a little merch pile on their bed whenever they showed up. But most importantly, they had these journals. And I said, we're going to focus on these 3 things over this weekend. The first is going to be, you're going to write a love letter to your wife. So remember how you used to talk to your wife whenever you first fell in love, whether that was in college or whether that was in your 20s and 30s, whenever it was, whenever you first met your wife and you were just madly in love with her. You're going to write a love letter to her as if you're using that language. And then you're going to write a eulogy from your child's perspective. 2 ways. So 2 eulogies. And one of these 2 is going to really hurt. You're going to have to dig in and feel the pain. For the one that's going to feel the pain, the guys had to write a eulogy from their child's perspective as if they made no changes in their life. So if you made no changes in your life, say you're an alcoholic, say you binge on food, say you look at porn, say you're cheating on your spouse, say you're addicted to something, or you just always give up, you're getting complacent, your fire's leaving. Let's say the thing that's holding you back continues to get worse all the way to the day you die. What is your son or daughter going to say to you? They're alone in their bedroom. You just passed away. The funeral just happened. And they're like, Dad, why couldn't you fix this? What would they say to you? We had to write that letter. And then the third thing was the letter from their perspective as if you went all in and made the changes you need to make. And every guy there was making the changes they need to make. But what if you went all in, committed, lived the lifestyle instead of made it a phase? You didn't change anything. What would your life look like then? What would the eulogy be from your son or daughter? Thank you, Dad, for going all in. Thank you for making this change. Thank you for everything you've done for me. That was the 3 things the guys had to do on top of everything else we did that weekend. So these 3 overarching goals and journals they had to be journaling about, and then I had a workshop the next day. Darren had a workshop. Amin in our group had a workshop. Brandon Archer had a workshop. So we had different workshops happening. We had group workouts every morning at 6 a.m. We did a cold plunge in a lake. The air temperature was 39 degrees, up to like 42. The water temperature was 45 to 47 degrees, so it was freezing. And every day we went in, we stayed in a little bit longer until the last day, the day everyone was leaving. Some of us woke up early and did a 10-minute cold plunge. We were in there for 10 straight minutes, far longer than we ever thought was possible, but we felt amazing. Everyone was looking at each other in the eyes, just screaming and shouting and giving high fives, giving hugs in this freezing cold water early in the morning while everyone else was sleeping. And I said to the guys, we used to go on vacations and we'd be fast asleep, hungover, bloated from binging the night before. You know, it's 1 a.m. Everyone decides to order pizzas and you drink, and then you sleep till 1 a.m. the next day, or 1 p.m. the next day, and you just feel like garbage. We are up at 6 a.m. after eating healthy all day, having spin drifts in water, working out, motivating each other, talking about how we can be the best husbands we can be, and now we're in a cold plunge at 6 a.m. If you continue this, who are you going to be 12 months from now? If this is your mindset, if you fill your life with people like this, and we work on this every single day, who are you going to be 12 months from now? What kind of man are you going to be? Of course you'll be ripped. Of course you'll be disciplined. But what kind of person will you be? What kind of light will you fill people in your life? We're just talking about this as we're there in the middle of the cold plunge. And we have insane content that's being made right now. Jacob Cantu, our media guy, was there. He's in our group. He's an amazing guy. He was there with us, participated in everything, but also pulled his drones out, GoPros, cameras, and was recording everything. So we have really, really powerful content that's in the works. So and then 4 days passed. On the last night, we ended around a campfire, and I said, these are the things that I learned from this weekend, from you guys. Every single guy stood up in front of the camera and stood up in front of other men. We had a stage. There's a big theater room there. Every guy went in front of the theater room and just spilled their guts. And they said, this is who I am. This is my identity. This is the things I'm trying to overcome in my life. This is why I have to overcome them. Everyone was breaking down, crying. We were supporting them. But this is the breakthroughs that we needed. Men said they felt lighter. They felt free at the end. So we gathered around the campfire at the end of the retreat, and I spoke. I said, these are the things we learned about us. And that is that sharing heals people. And I wrote these down in my journal throughout the week. Sharing heals people. Whenever another man shares his struggles, shares his pain, shares what he's going through, it is healing for other men to hear. You are going through something. Maybe alcohol has wreaked havoc on your life, your business, your marriage, your kids. It steals your presence. Maybe food is stealing your presence because you're always feeling a complete lack of respect for yourself. Whatever it is, if you share that with another person, if you share that with another man, you heal yourself and you heal them. That's one of the things we found out. Suffering feels amazing. Doesn't really make sense, but that's the truth. As we were in there in that freezing cold plunge, staring each other in the eyes and screaming 6 a.m., cold, suffering, it felt amazing. That's when you feel on fire. Our program is called Men of Fire. We lose our fire throughout our life by seeking comfort, by getting complacent, by not challenging ourselves. We all jumped into the lake. The very last day, it was complete fog on the lake. You couldn't see anything, and all these men just jumped into the fog, fear, doubt. I related it back to the very first call I had with them when they had to invest in me. They didn't know me personally, and they just leapt, took a risk, and now their life has changed. Suffering feels amazing. We did group workouts. It was cold. It was rainy some days. And we just felt on fire. People were screaming, shouting, doing jumping push-ups and things they've never done before. Suffering feels amazing. Sharing heals people. I also wrote down, you all have the power to change lives. Every single guy there changed another man's life through sharing. People that were quiet and reserved stood up and talked powerfully, passionately, emotionally in front of everyone. And changed. It made us cry. They were feeling emotional, and by their shares, they made us break down and have lessons. I remember I wrote down from every single guy specific quotes that they said that changed me on the inside. One of the guys shared, Jacob shared that his wife is a treasure that shouldn't be squandered. He said, I've realized that my wife is a treasure and we can't squander her. And that's me saying one sentence from a 3-night weekend. Just imagine what else was said. Just imagine what other wisdom was shared. Another thing we learned, your pain is your power. The struggles guys went through. Men were talking about deep wounds that they suffered from their parents, from abuse, from other adults, from things they went through as a child. And that pain that they have is their absolute superpower. It's what they can use to heal other people if they have the right perspective. If you don't think that this thing that happened to you is your identity, if you don't think that this negative thing that happened to you is the reason why you should crumble, if you think this negative thing that happened to you is the reason why you're so strong, then that is your superpower. Then you can actually change lives. But you have to have the right perspective. The suffering, the trauma that you've been through can either be the reason why your life in your mind is in the toilet, or it could be the reason why you were so strong. Your pain is your power. The voice in our heads dictates the direction of our life. Everyone there came with a specific story about themselves, and through sharing their story, through hearing other men's stories, that story changed. And whatever storyline we have about our life, that is the storyline we're going to live up to. Where do you see yourself in 5-10 years? Some people have an unshakable belief that they're going to be a millionaire, a billionaire. They think they're going to be strong, powerful, an amazing speaker. They think they're going to impact millions of lives. They know this to their core. Do you believe that about yourself? Or do you think failure for you is inevitable? Both of those people are existing right now. The future hasn't happened to both of those people, but both of those people will live up to their story. So what is the storyline you're writing for yourself? You will live up to it. Then, what did we learn about our wives? Our wives are underappreciated. That's why, at the very beginning, I said we're going to write a love letter to our wife. And I started that exercise because I was a little upset. Not at my wife. I was upset at the airport. Because I went to the Pittsburgh International Airport, American Airlines, and there's 100 things that have to happen for this event to go right on day one. And they said, your plane is broken. That's what they said. I'm sitting in there ready to board. The guy comes on. He says, sorry, your plane is broken. We don't have a timeline. And I'm expecting to be at the location in 4 hours with a layover, and have to make tons of calls, pay people, organize things, get the guy's room, all these 100 things that have to happen, and then they're saying your plane is broken. So I was getting a little frustrated. But I also calmed myself down with the strategies we talk about in my group. And then they said, we don't have a timeline, and they moved it, but they said estimated 3 p.m. Then it was estimated 6 p.m. Then they said 1:30 a.m. So I went up to the guy. He said, sorry, man, there's nothing we can do. I just remained calm, thankfully. I said, well, is there another airline? Can we cancel this and get another airline? Can you check on that for me? And then he went to his computer, found another direct flight on, I think it was Delta, and booked that, canceled that one, and I ended up arriving at the location without a layover 1 hour after I was supposed to arrive there. And I had to call Darren and Justin from my team, and they went to Costco and grabbed some food, some snacks we needed, and rearranged 10 different things as I was getting onto the airplane. And by the time I got off the plane, Everything was taken care of, and we arrived at the location before we would have. So all the anger and stress I was feeling didn't do anything. It's called, the Buddhists say, shooting yourself with 2 arrows instead of 1. The thing that happened that was negative was the first arrow. How I reacted to it was the second arrow. And I didn't get too upset. I did a pretty good job because we work on this all the time, 3 times a week in our Zoom calls. We work on it, how to control ourselves emotionally. So I did a pretty good job, but I still had some frustration, some anger. And you're going to feel anger. Knowing how to deal with anger doesn't mean you're not going to experience it. It means that you can now skillfully deal with it instead of it override your life. So I brought my book on anger, and I pulled up my book on the airplane, read it, and there's a story about a wife who found a box of love letters that her husband used to write her when they first started dating, and they were on the verge of divorce, separating, the crack was growing, but after she read these love letters, she fell madly in love with him again. So that was the inspiration for doing this love letter exercise. It was on the way there. I said, we are all going to write a love letter. And on the last night when everyone was writing their love letters, same thing. We broke down. We had a deep, deep appreciation for our wives. There were multiple guys who were saying, man, I'm scared about the place of my relationship right now. I think we're headed for a divorce. And by the time they left, they had massive hope. And they've already reported to me that things are better than ever by implementing what we talked about. So our wives are underappreciated. I also wrote down our wives are better people than us. A lot of guys' identities are tied to their success at work, how many sales they make, promotion, their level of business success. For most of our wives, their identity is tied to the status of the relationship. They talk about, how's your husband doing? How's Chris doing? How's John doing? How is the relationship doing when we're talking about how's the business? Our wives really, really want to know how we're doing. I could say, I made $1 million today, babe. She'd be like, good job. I can't wait to our date tomorrow. Same thing with my kids. I could say, hey guys, guess what? Made $1 million. They'd say, oh, good job, Dad. Can you take me to the park? Can we go on the rope swing? Can we go for a walk? They just want to spend time with me. So I said on here, one thing we learned about our wives is they're underappreciated. They're better people. What makes us happy and fulfilled is by serving them and leading them. Now, here's where some guys get mixed up. They think serving their wife means being a yes man. They think that means happy wife, happy life. That is not what that means. You can put your foot down. You can say, this is the standard I'm going to live my life. I have to do this for myself. That doesn't mean letting yourself be abused, taken advantage of, and doing whatever you're told. You have to understand the distinction between that. It means you serve and lead. Very different. We have to earn our wives, I said. We have to earn them. We must live in a way that we can earn them. I'm sure you're listening to this. Many of you listening to this have just an awesome, awesome life. They're such good people. They're always supporting you. They're always supporting you. Many times we come home and we lay our baggage at their feet instead of joining a group and laying it at the feet of other men who can call you on your bullshit and build you up. Your wife wants you to come home and sweep her off her feet and lead her. Say, hey, honey, I booked us a restaurant, took care of the babysitter, follow me. And then she gets that tingly feeling that she used to get. Instead of bitching about how bad your workday was, a sale that didn't go through, client problems. Be the lighthouse is what we say. We must become men who deserve our wives. Now, children. What do we learn about our children? This is the biggest thing. This is the most destructive and challenging thing I learned from the entire weekend because guy after guy was sharing, up there, sobbing, in tears, barely able to speak, 40, some 50-year-old men, talking about small things that happened to them when they were 6 to 8 years old from their father and mother. So I wrote down, a father's absence is felt for eternity. For eternity. What does that mean? That means that a father's absence is felt by his child, which is felt by his child's grandchildren, forever. If a father decides to abdicate his responsibility of being a father, it is infinite destruction. There was guys in their mid-40s up there, barely being able to talk, talking about how when they were 6 years old, their parents sent them away for 2 months to a camp, and they felt abandoned. And I'll never forget this. This same guy said he came home at 6 years old, and his mom threw out his special blanket that it's the one, like he was away at this, wherever they sent him for 2 months at 6 years old, just thinking feeling lost, feeling scared, and just wanted to come home to this thing that made him feel safe. At that point, it wasn't his parents, it was his blanket, and they threw it out. And I started crying at that point, because I was imagining my son Nathan, my daughter Lauren, and just what they would feel like, what I would feel like at that age. Getting sent away. You hear people joke to their kids about sending them away to boarding school. That's a traumatic thing to say to a kid. We do not understand as adults how much we mean to them. They love us more than we love them. You are more to your kids than they are to you. There's less people in their life than there are in your life. Sometimes we make these jokes. They're not jokes to them. They'll laugh because they want to please you, but it hurts their soul. And this guy's large man was at the front of this room talking to 20 guys he met a couple of days earlier, just breaking down, barely being able to talk, talking about when I was 6 years old. I remember my parents sent me away for 2 months, and when I came back, my blanket was gone. And I started breaking down because I just felt that pain. I imagined myself sending Lauren away for 2 months. That's been 2 years ago. She's 8 now. 2 years ago, her coming back. Like, for her, the little things matter a lot. Like little Cabbage Patch Kids, little dolls, little baskets. Little things matter a lot to Lauren. When something's out of place, she gets upset because they mean everything to her. They mean nothing to us, but they mean everything to them. We have to understand that. They are still people, even though they're different. It still matters to them. Things don't matter to you, but they matter to them. Whenever you take away the things that matter to them that don't matter to you, you are crushing them. So a father's absence is felt for eternity. If a father isn't there in his child's life, that child will have a high likelihood of having drug problems, of having marriage issues, having issues at work, having no belief in himself, no vision. He'll have that empty hole for the rest of his life. And he will be at the middle of his life having this massive hole in his heart, thinking, how can I get past this? I need to heal. But at this retreat, we healed him. That's what we do. That's what I do. We heal men. We healed him. We healed each other. That's why we have this. Closing up that hole so that we can give back to our families. And then we remotivated each other to go back and serve. But first, you have to heal yourself. If you have not healed yourself, you can't heal anybody. So a father's absence is felt for eternity. So know, if you're listening to this and you're absent, or if you're just unpresent, you're physically there, but you're checking your email, you're thinking about business things, your kids know, and that's even worse. Being physically there, but choosing to mentally and emotionally not be there is worse than not being there at all. Because your children are saying, it's hypocritical. It's a slap in the face. It's like blue balling them. It's like, you could have this, but I'm not going to give it to you. I'm going to let you look at my face, but not really feel who I am. That's why you have to be organized. That's why you need a routine. That's why you need healthy habits. That's why you need a time block and schedule. That's why you don't have to be mindlessly scrolling in the middle of the day, so you can get all of your stuff done by the time your kids get home. Either we heal our wounds or our child will carry them. Either we heal our wounds or our child will carry them. Fathers have deep wounds that they've been carrying for decades. If you do not dig into them, if you run from the fear, if you medicate that fear, if you numb the pain, you are then choosing to give all of that pain to your child. If you put blinders on, I talked to a guy, I made a reel about it a couple of days ago. I talked to a guy who said he has 5 years left in his life. The doctor said I have 5 years left in my life. And he makes good money. He can afford our program. Nope, not a problem. He said, we went through the call, went to the end of the call, told him the price. He said, I got to check with my wife. I said, go bring her on the call. He wouldn't bring her on the call, but he talked to his wife. He came back. She said no. She said, we don't have the disposable income for that. I said, you have disposable income and you're not willing to change your life right now. He said, she said that we need to spend it on vacations. So he told me he wanted to. He went check with his wife and said, I can't. She said, no, we need to spend on vacations, plural. So then I said, who is leading this family? And then he's told me, we do it 50-50. I said, it doesn't sound like it. And the guys who say we lead our families 50-50, what that really means is they're too weak to do what they know is right, and their wife is stuck leading everything. It means you're too chicken shit. It means you're a yes man. You're a happy wife, happy life guy who's let his wife bear the burden of the family. And you're willing to die in 5 years to avoid a little bit of conflict. That's what it means. And then your 3 children are going to grow up without a father because you're too scared right now to have an uncomfortable conversation with your wife. That's what that means. Then he hung up on me. See, when I do calls, I don't care about the sale. The only thing I care about is speaking truth to you. You have to hear the truth. I don't give a shit. If you are meant to join us, you will join us. But I will tell you the truth. Couldn't handle the truth. But he will leave a legacy of destruction upon his family because he's feeling weak. And his children will then, he opened up to me during the call before that and said, my son's getting obese. My son's getting overweight. He's starting to not be able to run around. His child is already bearing the burden of his bad choices. And then he put blinders on, probably got off the call and drank something or ate something to make his bad feelings go away. So we're going to try to forget the call. And he's going to continue living his life how he's always lived. And his legacy of destruction will continue. Or he could be like the guys in my program and say, I accept the pain. I accept what I've done to my family and myself. I understand it. I'm okay. I take the responsibility, but I want to lead this family. So I will put this burden on my back, and they will follow me now. And I will accept the obstacles and resistance and pain that comes with that. That's the thing a man does. Some men choose to do that. The best time in your life is happening right now. Be present. Be present. Be not just physically present. Be emotionally present. Be mentally present. If you are thinking about the future or the past, you are not here right now. If you're thinking about what you have to do or what you should have done, you're not present. A present man is looking at the person in front of him and is feeling them. He's there with them. That is what a present man is. He's not thinking what he should have done, what he could have done.